Hello, everyone. Thank you, Amber. On behalf of the Xerces Society's Firefly team, I'd like to welcome you to the third and final day of the virtual Firefly Symposium, an event focused on firefly science, conservation, and education in the US and Canada. We're here to share knowledge, consider important questions, tell stories, and foster collaboration as we strive to better understand, enjoy, and conserve fireflies. The idea for this symposium originated out of smaller virtual working group meetings that the Xerces Society has facilitated over the past several years. These were region-based with meetings for the Southeast, the Mid-Atlantic, and the West. But as time passed, we realized that we could pitch a bigger tent for these presentations and conversations, and that many of the topics and stories being shared were relevant beyond the somewhat artificial regional boundaries that we had erected. So that's how we got here today. The theme of today's presentations is education and tourism. So all about the joys and challenges of sharing fireflies with the public and teaching the public, non-scientists, all about fireflies and how to protect them. Today we'll hear from presenters in Texas, Arkansas, Georgia, Florida, Arizona, and Pennsylvania. I found it and it gave me a smile that half of the presentation titles today use the word glow, which I think sets a nice tone for today and the feeling that fireflies bring to so many of us. So like yesterday, there will be 6 presentations followed by a 20-minute Zoom meeting where we'll have the chance for introductions, networking, and perhaps a bit more conversation about the session's presentations today. If you've already attended the social hour Zoom meeting or registered already, you can use the same link as the previous 2 days. If you still need to register for this Zoom meeting, you can find the link in the chat. Amber has kindly been sharing that periodically. Or you can also find it in the depths of your email inbox. If you look at the Zoom confirmation and reminder emails and perhaps use the search term social hour in your search, you will find the registration link as well. We realized that 3 hours is a long time to be on Zoom, so there'll be 2 breaks for you to stretch your legs, maybe grab some food, and step away from screens. Amber is also posting in the chat the symposium schedule, which is on the event landing page, if you want to keep track of who will be speaking when and when the breaks are. So it is my great pleasure to introduce our first speakers of the day, Mary Dobberstine and Alyssa Goforth, who are joining us today as Texas Master Naturalists of the Galveston Bay Area Chapter, and also affiliated with the Armand Bayou Nature Center. Mary and Alyssa, you should have slide control and take it away. We can't wait for your talk.
All right. Thank you, Richard. Hi, everyone. We are super excited this morning to introduce you to the Glow Patrol Firefly Survey Team. We are based here in the Houston-Galveston area along the Texas Gulf Coast. The team is led by Alyssa, myself, and Leda Parker, and we are all members of the Galveston Bay Area chapter of Texas Master Naturalist and volunteers of the Armand Bayou Nature Center, which is the home base for our surveys. This project has been an amazing mix of discovery, community outreach, and fun. So today we'll be sharing what we've been working on and highlight a variety of ways we've been doing outreach here in our community. So first of all, it all started in 2022. Leda Parker has been a longtime volunteer at Armand Bayou Nature Center, and she reached out to the volunteer services director at the time to start a Firefly Watch program. They knew they had fireflies because they'd seen them on night hikes, but they knew nothing about them. And the goal was really simple with the program initially. It was just let's study and better understand the fireflies at Armand Bayou Nature Center to enhance guided night hikes. And also it brought a very unique observation opportunity to Armand Bayou volunteers. And we jumped on from the very beginning. We're like, sign us up. So I can, hold on here, go back here. I can summarize the program that we're doing in 3 words. First of all, observe. Through careful watching, we've identified actually a number of different firefly species, which we'll talk more about, learned about their life cycle and behaviors. And what we then protect, we take what we've learned and we've shared it with land stewards and our broader community. And enjoy. Most of all, we've had fun sharing these magical experiences with the team and then through the public through night hikes and presentations. So in our region, just for some background, we are surrounded by a variety of different ecosystems to explore. Our home base, Armand Bayou Nature Center, gives us access to 3 of those ecosystems. We have a coastal tallgrass prairie, we have riparian forested wetlands, and we have the bayou. And we even have this very small freshwater pond habitat that we absolutely love. It's a true treasure because it's home to one of our firefly species. We had the pleasure back in January of 2024 to host Lynn Faust at Armand Bayou. She walked the grounds with us. When she left, she kind of inspired us to search for the population of cypress fireflies. We didn't have cypress swamps in Armand Bayou, but we do have some in our expanded area. So we've been on the hunt also looking at our local swamps. We haven't seen it yet, but there's still a lot of areas to explore. So in thinking about our surveys, there's 3 things I want to share that for the reasons I think our program has thrived. First of all, building the partnership. We've been able to secure access after hours, which of course is crucial. We're doing things when the parks are closed. And Leda, her experience as a longtime volunteer and hike leader really made it easy to make that connection in Armand Bayou. And when Alyssa and I are out, we never miss an opportunity to visit with a nature center's executive director and say, do you have fireflies? Would you like to know if you have fireflies? Do you want to know how many and what kind? And so it's really working hard to develop those partnerships has been crucial. Also, we set a regular schedule. We survey every Tuesday night in February through October. The people that join our group know that Tuesday night you can find us out looking for things. And we've been doing that since 2022. And the last, but certainly not least, is establishing our data collection method. When we first got started with Firefly Watch, we used the Massachusetts Audubon Society's training and sheets, and that was helpful. But we've since turned over to Xerces, the Firefly Atlas, and recording our milestone survey and observations in there. In addition, we maintain our own database so that we can do phenology work and overlay rainfall data and to try to tell our story. So it's been these are some of our pictures of our folks out there doing the work. Now, these partnerships, the Globe Patrol has expanded beyond our research at Armand Bayou, and our team members, we've taken them to a variety of different sites. The Jocelyn Nagary National Wildlife Refuge, the University of Houston Coastal Center, Exploration Green, and Deer Park Prairies, all here local to us. And we're very grateful to the agencies that help make this possible by providing site permits and invitations. And their support has really allowed us to explore these new habitats and continue our learning. But none of this would be possible if we didn't have our volunteers. And since the start of our program, we've had 52 people come into our team, and over half of those are Texas Master Naturalists, while the other half is our volunteers of Armand Bayou Nature Center or perhaps prospective volunteers at Arm and Bayou Nature Center. And so for us, that's 52 people who have actually seen fireflies, because around here, it's actually a myth that they exist or not exist. But 52 people can spread the word that we do have fireflies here in Southeast Texas. And our Tuesday night surveys, we have 8 to 12 people participating, even in the late, crazy hot summers with the heat and community. And we may be a little crazy, maybe, but very dedicated. So we've had a variety of different outcomes and impacts and things that we've done with their surveys. And I'm going to turn it over to Alyssa so that she can dive deeper for you.
Thank you, Mary. So let's see. Oops. All right, so here's our rock stars. These are our fireflies these are the ones we found at Arm and Bayou Nature Center. And it's taken a while. It just took us about a year or two to get all of our species, but here they are. We have our early bird, Pyrectomina borealis, and we love to go larvae and pupa hunting in winter. And then they flash from late January to mid-March, so they give us a good early start to our guided hike season. And then we have our Pyrectomina lucifera, and they're only found at that one little man-made pond at Arm and Bayou Nature Center. It was man-made a long time ago, though, so it's quite natural looking. And it actually looks a lot like Professor Bushman's lake at the University of Florida, only it's smaller. And they are there from April through September. Then we have our Pyrectomina punctiventris over here at the other end, the Texas hooker. You'll have to ask Lynn Faust about that, why they're called that. And it's our very Texas Gulf Coast firefly. We found them at several locations, including even in some volunteers' backyards. And one note that we're really kind of proud of and happy about is that we found the larvae of all 3 of our Pyrectomina species. Then we have 2 Photura species. I'll talk about our Photurus bill browni first, Bill's hitch. They are seen flicker flashing from May to September in the forest, at the margins of the prairie and forest, and in grassy areas. And we see a lot of variation in their pronotal markings, which is very interesting. But they all have that hitch in their quick double flash. So we know that we're pretty sure they're all Bill Browni. And then the very interesting Photurus unknown, we were kind of lumping it in with the versicolor group, but we're not really sure what they are. There's very few of them in one small location in the forest. But they have different kinds of flashes. Earlier in the night, we might see some flash bulbing, and then later we see slow vertical lantern glows up in the trees. And we do have one photo showing what appears to be one of these guys or girls eating another firefly. Then, let's see. We, as Mary mentioned, we have gone to the Jocelyn Nungaray National Wildlife Refuge, which I may refer to as Anahuac from here out because it's easier and shorter, and that's what it used to be called until recently. There's a trail there at the headquarters called the Cypress Trail, and it's just a very short little trail, less than half a mile, leading through a riparian forest and then onto a boardwalk through some cypress trees along the rim of Lake Anahuac. And even though it's a very small trail, it's pretty rich in fireflies, and we're pretty sure we haven't discovered everything yet. But one of them is the Photinus demyssus, the Texas two-step. We like to call them Photinies because they're so small, and there's pretty good numbers. We did find one of the flightless females. You can see there in the top picture above the male there that's in the petri dish. The males have the quick double flash. And then we were really excited to discover what we think are Pleiotomus divisi. Davis's oddball. We think they're divisi rather than palins because of the wetland habitat. Our first sighting was a male that actually found us. We were taking a picture of another firefly, and this male with these beautiful feathery antennae landed on our petri dish, I think. Yeah. And anyway, we finally, after looking for a long time, we found the flightless females this year. And we see their larvae in good numbers out there on the ground every time we visit. It's like little green constellations on the ground, quite beautiful. And the larvae actually, we see them in sizes from less than 5 millimeters to up to 30 millimeters, and they're all glowing. And then we have our Photurus frontalis. That was another 2025 discovery, which was thrilling for us, found in April. We need to go back in the spring and see when their peak numbers are occurring. So that was exciting. We didn't see them in numbers enough to see any synchronicity, but we're going to investigate further. Then we have some Bill Brown eye there too. And again, as with Armand Bayou, there's a lot of variation. And then in addition to these four, we have seen Pyrectomina borealis larvae there, but we haven't been there in the February to March timeframe to see the adults yet. And just a note to get a kind of a wider view of species in our region, we created a project on iNaturalist called Fireflies of Greater Houston, Galveston area. And we've gotten, as of a couple days ago, 687 observations of 15 species by 269 different observers. So
That's a lot. We've had fun finding those.
And Richard's one of the main identifiers.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Richard. So conservation, that's another important impact for us of the work we've been doing. And we try to share information with land stewards, things like passing along the messages like no mow May and leave the leaves, leave the logs, trying to maintain habitat. We inform them about habitat hotspots and sensitive areas, such as that pond where the lucifera are found. And just knowing the different species are there, once people are informed that they have fireflies, it really leads to a lot of motivation to preserve them and their habitats. And here, this picture shows us with Armand Bayou Nature Center stewardship staff, along with Lynn Faust when she came out to visit us in January of 2024. And that was a day when we learned a lot. Okay, there's a good picture of one of our survey teams one night with some new volunteers there. We helped them to join the survey team, to onboard them and get to know our local fireflies, their life stages, mating and flashing behavior, anatomy, all that stuff. And as we grow our ranks, we gain new insights from the new folks. Just recently, one of the new members, she helped us to discover the larvae of the Pyrectomina lucifera. After 4 years of looking and thinking we saw some glows down there on the ground, we finally found them, and now we see a lot. Now we see them a lot.
I may have squealed that night. I mean,
I think you, yeah,
I think I did.
The squeals happen with new discovery. Okay. We do public hikes at Armand Bayou Nature Center. Those are a lot of fun. And we're very fortunate to see fireflies in some form pretty much all year round at the Nature Center. You can see there on the slide when the different ones are appearing. And the public hikes run from February and early February through June. And then again, later on in the fall, we might have some more if conditions are right. Each time we take out about 12 guests. They always sell out and people are just amazed. And we often hear exclamations like, I didn't know we had fireflies here. I didn't know there was more than one kind of firefly, or it's been 50 years since I've seen fireflies. We get a lot of good comments. And a lot of visitors are just surprised to learn that fireflies still exist in Southeast Texas. Community presentations are another thing that the Glow Patrol does. We give community presentations on firefly basics and our local fireflies and their habitats. We've hosted these both at Anahuac and at Arm and Bayou Nature Center, a school or two also. And the ones at the parks, we've followed with guided night hikes to see the fireflies in action. At Anahuac, the coordinator of that group there, the Friends of Anahuac, she mentioned that they typically get maybe 15 guests when they have a nature program, outreach program like this. So we were thrilled when people kept showing up, and they said we had like 75 people there for the talk and firefly walk. So fireflies are a major draw. One of the attendees there was a young reporter from the local newspaper, and she was so enchanted with the fireflies. She wrote a big long article and had was fortunate to have some really great photos of the Photeris frontalis, the Photinus demissus, and our very first Pleiotomus female, which also elicited a squeal that night. It was a really brilliant night of just sharing the wonder of fireflies with the local community, and we hope to do more of that. We also help out with our Master Naturalist chapter. One of the ways is to highlight the volunteer opportunity that we have for new Master Naturalists at the Master Naturalist chapter project fair that they have at the end of the training program. We set up a booth there for the Glow Patrol to build awareness and collect some names for our email list. We also have given presentations as part of the training for the new Master Naturalists, helping the new members to learn more about our local natural ecosystems and wildlife through learning about our fireflies and their habitats. Our newest outreach effort was a virtual walk presentation, a virtual firefly hike at Arm and Bayou Nature Center. This talk was designed for local naturalists, and it was conducted on a video conference call with our chapter, and some other guests from other chapters. But we would like to adapt it for other audiences as well, like kids. But anyway, we try to make it feel like the attendees were out in the field with us, using our photos and videos to highlight firefly life cycles, mating, flashing behaviors, conservation, some about their predators. We didn't have any of the issues of scheduling and planning an actual guided walk for such a large group of people. And we didn't have any mosquitoes. Yeah. That was good. And it was very well received. And we've had a lot of follow-up questions and a lot of interest from people who want to join our survey next year.
Yep.
And last but not least, the public hikes and the advertising of them on the Arm and Bayou website have really captured folks' imaginations. The Arm and Bayou Director of Visitor Services reached out to us one day to ask if we could lead a private charter hike for a marriage proposal. And the guest wanted to pop the question to his lady love, surrounded by flashing fireflies. So of course we said yes. And we scouted out this perfect spot. He came ahead of time, and he got to go out with our survey team, and we made a plan with a code word and everything, crossed our fingers that we'd have good weather, and it turned out to be a really special memory for everybody. And there you see her comparing the brilliance of her new ring with the brilliance of a firefly that we managed to.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, it was super fun. She was a real nature nut.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah. So let's see. Oops, there we go. So we're going to wrap up, and Mary's going to take.
Yeah, so tying it back a little bit to Texas Master Naturalists and Master Naturalist programs, through the Glow Patrol project, we are truly living the mission of our Master Naturalists. Through the power of observation, we've learned about firefly species, life cycles, habitats, and behaviors. We are sharing what we are learning with local land stewards and conservation scientists. and we are connecting the people to the wonder of fireflies through night hikes and community presentations. And then, and we've built quite a team. Every Tuesday night, we grab our nets, we put on our bug spray, we risk chiggers and ticks, and we pull up our boots and we trot through the dark. We're always hunting for that first flash. And really 4 years in, and we still act like kids. The moment we see one, it never gets old. So the squealing does happen, like, ooh, there you go. But a great group. So with that, we are going to thank all of our Gold Patrollers. Thank you for having us. Thank you for Armand Bayou Nature Center and all of our partners. We've really enjoyed it. So I'll turn it back over to you, Richard.
Thank you so much, Mary and Alyssa. That was wonderful. I think we have time for maybe 1 or 2 questions, Candace.
Yeah, I might combine 2 questions. You've got a lot of questions and comments. People are excited. That was a great presentation. I guess maybe the one I'll ask. So a couple people were curious where you find flightless females and also the Pyractomina larva.
For the flightless female, both the Photinus demissa and the Pleiotomus, they're just glowing on the ground, kind of interspersed with those larvae. So the 2 questions go together. On the side of the trail at Anahuac, it's amazing. There's this one little spur of trail, and the ground on either side of it is just glowing with things. And one of our eagle-eyed volunteers, he spotted one that looked a little different, and that turned out to be the Demissus female. And then the other, you spotted the female Pleiotomus. She was up a little bit on a twig, so it's a little off the ground. But once you see one, then you kind of know more, and then you can find more.
So can I say it may have been luck? May have been luck in the right day. Can that be it? Because I don't have any other explanations. I mean, they were amongst the leaf litter. They were in the shrubs.
Yeah.
But I think a little bit of luck and being
But
in the
right
right
by
place.
the trail. And
Yeah.
it was good because it was the night of the presentation, and we had all those people out there, and we were trying to keep them from stepping on things, but luckily there's a paved trail.
Yeah.
So it was
Yeah.
pretty magical
Yeah.
for everybody.
Yeah, I definitely squealed because I was with a couple, and I was like, oh, and I'm screaming at her from like far away, like, come look here, we found it. So unfortunately, a little bit of luck in being in the right place, the right time.
Thank you.
Thank you both so much. We're gonna move on to our next presenter, but if you, Mary and Alyssa, if you want to take a peek at the Q&A, you may have some questions you can type in directly. I am thrilled to introduce our next speaker, who is Pam Morgan, who's a Northwest Arkansas master naturalist. Yeah, take it away, Pam. Feel free to come off mute. And there's a spacer slide, but next should be yours.
Okay. Hi, everyone. So thank you, Richard. And I'm really happy to be right next to the presentation from Mary and Alyssa, since they are Texas master naturalists. And y'all do a lot of the same stuff that we're doing here in Northwest Arkansas for fireflies. And you did just a great job of talking about how master naturalists make a difference. So I'm going to kind of continue by talking specifically about one part of our Firefly project here with the Northwest Arkansas Master Naturalists, which is our Firefly Sanctuary. We'll talk about how we launched the Kohler Firefly Sanctuary here in Northwest Arkansas. So I will talk about a few things: how we chose the location. I'll talk about what our programming looks like. I'll give you some statistics about our impact, and then we'll close it with some challenges and successes. I imagine there are a few of you in the audience who are either thinking about starting a Firefly sanctuary, hopefully, or maybe you have one of your own, or you're just interested in beefing up your programming. So I hope to give you some ideas here. All right. So just a quick summary of the Northwest Arkansas chapter of Master Naturalists. There are quite a few chapters in Arkansas. We are the biggest chapter. We have 375 members, and Master Naturalists are all volunteers, and our goals are to educate the public about our natural resources and support existing natural resource management activities. So our Firefly project fits in very well with that goal because we're teaching people about fireflies, and then we're also making sure that firefly habitat is preserved and teaching people how to do that. So we got started in the late summer of 2023 and July, August. So let me just tell you a little bit what happened. First, we started with a small team of master naturalists. We really wanted to think of a project that was kind of close to our house and that we could really own. So we got together, we brainstormed it, and I had recently been researching fireflies. I just kind of got interested in them. And then, as I'm sure a lot of you on this call know, once you start getting interest, you kind of catch the bug and it turns into a passion. So I kind of convinced everyone in this team that we should start a firefly sanctuary. And so the next step was, where is it going to be? So we were lucky in that we had some connections with a local foundation called the Peel Compton Foundation that owns several locations here in Northwest Arkansas. And the Peel Compton Foundation mission is to cultivate experiences that connect the community through nature, education, recreation, and preservation. So we figured they would be on board with a firefly sanctuary with some educational programming attached to it. So Peel Compton owns 4 properties in the Bentonville area: Compton Gardens, Peel Mansion and Botanical Garden, Osage Park, which is a wetland restoration project with beavers, and they also have fireflies there. So that's a great location where we go and do firefly surveys. But we chose the Kohler Mountain Bike Preserve. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Kohler and why we chose it. So here's just a picture of our wonderful sign from Ben Pfeiffer, thank you, designating our Firefly Sanctuary here at Kohler. And so we called it, it's a real original name, the Kohler Firefly Sanctuary. And we're in Bentonville, Arkansas. So where is Bentonville? Some of you might not know. Bentonville is in Arkansas, which is right here kind of in the south central part of the US. And Bentonville is in the very, very northwest tip here, close to Missouri and close to Oklahoma. And Bentonville is kind of self-proclaimed the mountain bike capital of the world. People come from all over the world to come ride the mountain bike trails here. And it's a great place to live. So it's growing really, really fast in this area. So we have a lot of development. We have a lot of a lot of additional light pollution. And so that's another reason we kind of wanted to do this Firefly Sanctuary is we want to make sure we're preserving the areas for fireflies before everything gets developed over. We do have a strong conservation movement in Arkansas. The nickname for the state is actually the natural state. So there is a strong desire to preserve our natural spaces and make them accessible for recreation and future generations. So that was one real benefit for us here. Kohler Mountain Bike Preserve was really just founded about 5 years ago. And just recently it was named the Arkansas Tourism Attraction of the Year. We get lots and lots of tourists, again, from all over the world that come to ride the mountain bike trails, but it's not just mountain bikers. It's really popular for Greenway Trail, walking back and forth, enjoying nature, enjoying the trails. There are a lot of educational programs for kids as well. So it's just a really great program with conservation and education and recreation all tied into the park. So just kind of a picture. I know you can't see it really well, but it's about 300 acres. This is the whole mountain bike preserve, not the Firefly Sanctuary. So it's about 300 acres. And within that, there are over 20 miles of mountain biking trails, which are also good for hiking as well. And right down the middle of it, going north and south, is a 1.5 mile long paved greenway. Like I said, this park is really popular with both residents and tourists. And I've just highlighted in green here. This is where the Firefly Sanctuary is, down here. So I'll blow that up. And you might be able to see just the little icon here that designates the Firefly Sanctuary. It's a pretty small area. It goes, I think it's about 1 to 2 acres. It goes on the greenway north from this little camera icon and then off to the east. And you'll see there are houses. There's a housing development up here, but it's high up on a hill. You can't see elevation here, but the greenway is actually in a valley and these houses are up on a hill. So the Firefly Sanctuary itself, why did we choose this area? The whole park has no external lighting except for around the parking lot. And in the middle, there's actually a cafe, and then there's a campground at the very far north end of the park. But the greenway is not lit. There's a lot of sky glow. We've got lights in the area, and then these houses sometimes shine down some lights, but overall the park is pretty dark for an urban area. They don't use pesticides at Kohler. There's a stream that runs again all the way north-south, and in the Firefly Sanctuary itself, it's really pretty. It's a stream running through a small meadow, which is surrounded by woods of a variety of trees, native trees. And this location was perfect because it's just a really short walk from the parking lot and it's along a paved trail. So it's very accessible for anybody to walk to, no matter your age or your fitness level. And finally, there are boardwalks that overlook the stream and the meadow. So it's a really good place to just hang out and look at fireflies without worrying about trampling them. All right. So here's just some pictures. This is the greenway that runs, again, 1.5 miles north-south in the park. And then on the right, you can see it's kind of a triangular shaped boardwalk that overlooks the meadow and the stream, which is here in this next picture. So here's the stream, and you can see there's a couple of additional boardwalks a little farther north. And this one here, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but on the top left, that boardwalk, that is our viewing platform where we end our Firefly walks, and we all sit and watch fireflies at that location. Trying to advance the slides. Okay, here we go. So sorry, I went too fast now. We wanted to do this, like I said, late summer 2023. And up until now, you might have noticed I haven't even really mentioned fireflies. I've just been talking about the location. So back in late summer 2023, we didn't even really know if there were fireflies. I've got to be honest, or very many fireflies. Some people on our team had said they had seen some fireflies there, but we hadn't studied them. It was July, August. It was probably peak firefly season was over. So we saw some, but not very many. So we were kind of crossing our fingers that we actually had good fireflies at this firefly sanctuary. So luckily we did, of course. So in 2024 was our launching of our Firefly walks. So we've done it for 2 years now, last summer and then this summer. So in 2024, we had official Firefly public walks for 4 nights, June 21st, 22nd, 28th, 29th. And then in 2025, we were able to add 1 night and we moved it up a week because the timing we decided just wasn't perfect. That last weekend they had started to fade, so we wanted to do it a week earlier, and it worked out just perfect in 2025. We had lots of fireflies. We hit the peak perfectly. Plus we had some informal walks, of course, for special groups. So let me talk about what we do on our firefly walks, which is our main program at the sanctuary. We start at 8:30 p.m. when it's still fairly light, and we have set up there's a pavilion that's near the parking lot. We have tables with volunteers from the master naturalists who lead some activities, crafts, and the night before, I usually go out and catch some live fireflies of as many different species as I can find and bring them in little containers so people can see up close what different species of fireflies look like. And our main messages at these tabling events are how people in their homes can promote good firefly habitat, the fact that fireflies are at risk due to light pollution, pesticides, development, etc. Leave the leaves, and also flash patterns. That's very, very popular with the guests because one, they don't know that there's more than one species of firefly. They've really only seen the Big Dipper. And once they learn that not only there's more than one species of firefly, you can tell them apart by different flash patterns. That's just really exciting for people. So we focus on that a lot during our walks, is trying to spot different species and point out the different fireflies. So let's see next. So that was 8:30. By 8:45, we give a little bit of a talk, highlighting those messages and thanking Kohler Mountain Bike Preserve for hosting us. And then we walk along the greenway down to the first stop where there are just a lot of Big Dipper fireflies flashing. And here we pause for a little bit to talk about the flash pattern and give people some practice on the flash pattern. We count the seconds in between the flashes. We pay attention to the J shape. We look at the yellow color, and we try to look into the grass to see if we can see some females responding, and we usually can. So this is a really important stop on our walk. And then we head down the trail, the paved greenway, and we meet our firefly costumes. So we have placed along the trail first the egg, then the larva, then the pupa, and then the adult firefly. So we go in order for the life cycle of the firefly, and each one gives a really short little bit about their stage of the life cycle. Then we continue down the trail. Finally, the adult wraps it up by talking about flash patterns. And then we walk down to the viewing platform that I mentioned earlier and sit there until it gets darker because it's still not quite super dark right now. We sit and we watch and start trying to identify the different species of firefly. So that is our programming. So I'm going to share some numbers about the impact that we've made so far last year and this year. So the project is more than just the Firefly Sanctuary. The Firefly Sanctuary started it, but it's really just a small piece of the whole program. We had in 2024, 154 guests. We added the one more walk in 2025, so we've got a few more. But again, that's just the tip of the iceberg. The sanctuary has just gotten people really jazzed up about fireflies in the region. So now we're doing a lot of speaking opportunities, tabling at different events. And in 2024, we reached about 600 people through these events, and 2025, about 1,600. So it grew a lot. And then in addition to that, I've done a couple of podcasts. We've had some news outlets do some articles on us. And then at Kohler itself, we have that firefly sign, firefly habitat sign, and hundreds of people walk by it every day. And I see, when I'm out there, I see people taking pictures of it, scanning the QR code. And I go out at Kohler a lot at night to look for fireflies and do some surveys. And I'm seeing a lot more people at Kohler at night, and they're looking for fireflies. So it's really heartening to see that. Challenges and successes. So first of all, we were going to launch in June 2025, but sorry, 2024. We had a huge tornado come through at the end of May 2024, and it devastated the park, and the park was closed. And the people at Kohler called me and said, we're going to have to cancel or delay your Firefly walks. And of course, we would have to do them in June. We didn't want to do them in August. There could be no delay. So that was very worrisome. But the community of Bentonville came out in huge numbers and cleaned up the park. So we were actually able to open on time. So that was very encouraging. Signups and no-shows, we're still struggling with that. The instant we announced the public Firefly walks, they sell out. I mean, it's free, so they sell out, but they fill up immediately. But then we find that we get a lot of no-shows. So we're still struggling with that. We don't want to charge for them, but we're working on some solutions to that. Volunteer scheduling with the costumes and the tabling, it takes at least 10 people each night to run one of these Firefly walks. And sometimes it's just hard to manage all of them, especially if somebody gets sick last minute and we have to swap out somebody who can memorize the adult Firefly lines right away. The timing of the Fireflies, I mentioned the date, we moved it later the second year, and then the time of night. It's kind of tricky how people show up when it's light so we can see the Big Dippers, but then we make them wait 30 minutes until the later Fireflies come. But again, with the viewing platform, we think we managed it last year and it worked really well. Finally, the successes, the tabling activities were really, really good. People were really engaged and learned a lot at all of our activities. The costumes were super popular. People just love the costumes. The partnership with Peel Compton Foundation, they've just been an amazing partner. They do all of the scheduling for our Firefly walks, and they help us in any way that we need to put these events on. We've created a lot of new partnerships. Crystal Bridges, which is our large art museum in the area, garden clubs, University of Arkansas, and of course, thank you, Candace and Richard at Xerces for helping us with all of this. And there's just so much interest and Firefly love from the public. Our programs are really popular and people are really engaged and excited. And I don't have time to talk about all the surveys we do, but we do surveys, and we're trying to learn about the Fireflies at Kohler and throughout Northwest Arkansas. And at the park, we've identified 7 species, plus there's some twinkling in the trees that we're not quite sure what they are. So we know there's even more than that. All right, well, that's all I've got. Thanks a lot. Do we have time for questions, Richard?
Yeah, we're getting into our 10-minute break, so that gives us a little buffer. Let's definitely open up the Q&A for a question or two.
Okay. Well, we did have one question about where you got the costumes.
One of our master naturalists, he and his wife made them. I
Sure.
think you might be able to tell, like, one of them is a store-bought cockroach costume that they modified. So when I've worn it once, and when I face somebody and say, "What am I?" They say, "You're a cockroach." And I have to turn around and show my elytra and my light on my rear end. And then they say, "Oh no, you're a firefly." But it was a cockroach costume.
That's amazing. I love it. Okay, there's another question about someone says, I heard you say that you let folks walk around freely at night. Are there any signs that they're trampling the habitat? We have armed guards out during our blue ghost and synchronous firefly mating season.
Well, pretty much everybody stays on the paved greenway. It's so wide and you can see fireflies. And then when you get to the end where I said that viewing platform was, there is a big lawn, and it's mowed regularly, and it's a lawn. It's not where fireflies are. I mean, fireflies will fly above it, but it was a lawn before it was a firefly sanctuary. People during the day, kids play on it, dogs run and get in the stream. So that's really the only area people walk on. And then we have the mountain bike trails, but I would say nobody goes off trail to trample. They're on the mountain bike trails or they're on the paved greenway or the boardwalk.
Okay, great. Well, I think we'll probably move into the break now, but if you want to answer the remaining questions, Pam, on the Q&A, that would be great.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
All right, folks. After that quick break, we're gonna continue with the rest of the presentations. It's a pleasure to introduce Becky Griffin, who is Pollinator Health Associate at the University of Georgia Extension.
Thank you, Richard. What fun presentations today. I'm having a great time. All right, so my presentation is Classrooms to Cabins, Engaging Communities and Tourists in Firefly Conservation. I work for University of Georgia, and most of you who know me from my pollinator work, but I am also very in love with and active in firefly conservation as well. I live in the North Georgia mountains, and we are right on the border with North Carolina and close to Tennessee. And our little town of Blue Ridge and Blairsville, both towns are sandwiched between the Cherokee National Forest and the Chattahoochee-Oconee National Forest. Fannin County, which is a focus of my presentation today, is a tourist hotspot, as you can imagine, with many coming up for hiking and fishing. And the beauty of the mountains right now, we have a lot of people visiting because of leaf change. So it is a very busy spot for tourism. And as you can see from this nice Xerces map, that our state is fortunate to have many species of fireflies. And with our abundance of natural areas in Fannin County, we have an opportunity for quite a few. I got involved in this project as people were coming to me and talking to me about the fireflies, saying, and I'm sure you guys have heard this, where have they gone? I used to have fireflies in my youth and they're not here anymore. But then I may visit their homes and they routinely had those lights on all night long, like it was Fort Knox in there. And they had very neat yards, a lot of lawns with no leaf litter or wild areas. So they simply just did not understand the biology of fireflies, which I know we all find very common. Our area also has a large amount of short-term rental homes. So visitors come up for the weekend and they turn those floodlights on and then they leave to go back to where they came from, and there's no one else in that house for months and those lights just stay on. As a matter of fact, where I live, our home is on a mountain and we are the only permanent residents there, and this happens quite frequently. At my point of high frustration, I met Christy Gribble, who is the president of the Fannin County Chamber of Commerce, and her approach is a little bit unusual. Her approach to her position is to love local. She had grown up in Fannin County and was concerned about the development that's increasing and also concerned about all of the same issues that I just talked about. She introduced me to Lucas Roof and Tori Arp of the Fannin County School Board. And together we brought our own unique perspectives and launched the Lights Off Fireflies On project. And the key here, I think, that makes this project somewhat unusual is we all have very different perspectives. I had the naturalist type of perspective. The Fannin County Chamber of Commerce, Christy and her team were interested in managing growth and living local, but still they were the Chamber of Commerce. And then we had the school board involved. And then as we started, we had some local farms, local tourist businesses like Noontutla here to also join us. And we had a three-prong approach. We wanted to target residents, permanent residents, visitors, and young people. So we launched our project and we started gathering information and started a website. And it's very basic. I run it, so it's very basic. It has some basic firefly information, a lot of information from darksky.org, some information about habitat creation, just the basics that we thought people might need to know if they just had a passing interest in fireflies. So we started educating residents, and I started with a Chamber of Commerce board meeting. So these are all the movers and the shakers in Fannin County, and they came and I gave them a talk, the same talk I gave Christy about how we are very fortunate to have these fireflies in North Georgia, and we need to educate people about them. And I also approached them as stakeholders. How could they turn this into a money-making situation? Well, if cabin rental owners worked with darksky.org and had their cabin dark sky certified, could they possibly charge more for people to come up and see the fireflies in a dark surrounding? So this was something that we talked about at length. We have over 4,000 of those short-term rental cabins in our county. So you can see some of the other things that we did. I presented at a local college. I wrote a lot of magazine articles, and I was even interviewed on local radio shows. I also worked with a friend who was a landscape architect, and we worked together with in developing what we called a firefly garden. And basically, these are plants that like moisture, like our fireflies do, like our firefly larva does. So how could somebody take an area they had that was moist, and instead of trying to dry it out, actually add plants and enhance that habitat? Next, we talked about educating visitors. We have well over 1 million people visit Fannin County every year. And since we had buy-in at this time by some of the cabin rental companies and some of the other stakeholders, many of the cabins now have one of these magnets that I show here on the refrigerator. It talks about turning the lights off at night, a little bit about firefly habitat, and then it has a QR code to allow people to get to our website. We also I helped the artists develop a game called Finding Fireflies. So we have about 6 parks in Fannin County, and if you visit a park, it will have a kiosk there that has information about fireflies with one magical firefly fact. And if you collect all the facts and take them back to the Chamber of Commerce, then you get a glow-in-the-dark firefly pen, which they had specially made for the project. And we were surprised at how that really took off. People coming up to the area wanted something they could do with their kids, and this turned out to be a really fun activity. Another thing we found interesting is we really thought, being in North Georgia, that most of the visitors would be from the Atlanta area. It's kind of common to come up to the mountains, but what we were finding is people were coming from all over. And we had people from New York, people from California do the Firefly game, which we thought was really nice, because we thought, okay, we can really think about how educating people when they come up to the mountains about fireflies, they could take that information back home and use it in their own habitat. And then, of course, we're looking at the schools. And the reason is because all of these kids are going to grow up, and many of them will stay in the area. And even if they don't, we want them to be knowledgeable about fireflies. Educators are interested in the science, technology, engineering, and math curriculum. So we developed lesson plans and ideas that met those curriculum needs. And in some grade levels, science teachers teach about life cycles. And the information they're given is to teach a life cycle about an elephant, which seems kind of silly. We have no elephants in North Georgia. So the teachers are like, why not use something local, like fireflies? So now many of them instead use the life cycle of a firefly when teaching about life cycles in their classroom. The STEM teacher at Blue Ridge Elementary has used the lessons for 2 years and recently presented how she uses them at the State Board of Education STEM conference. So that's been really fun. We've really enjoyed working with the kids, and I will actually see them in the summer. You know, one negative, of course, is school's not in session in the summer, but I will see a kid in the grocery store in the summer, and they'll run up to me and say, hey, we turned our lights off. We're seeing lots of fireflies. So that's pretty heartening to see that happen in the community. When working with high school age students, I referenced a paper written by Lynn Faust, a very popular person today, on how some fireflies use milkweed as part of their life cycle. So I worked with the high school ag students and FFA teachers, and I taught them how to stratify milkweed seeds, which is a skill that is a requirement for their curriculum. And I chose milkweed varieties that are native to our area that aren't readily available at plant nurseries. So the students stratified the seeds, grew out the plants, and in May, we hosted a community milkweed plant giveaway. This past May was our second year, and the students gave out over 500 plants that they grew themselves. And at this giveaway, we had a dark sky booth, information on fireflies, and our efforts for conservation. So I call this kind of the triple win. The students learn a new skill, we populate the area with native milkweed, and we also educate and help our fireflies. Our commissioners got behind our efforts when they saw how popular the issue was and have declared July 2nd as Fannin Firefly Day every year. And businesses have started getting involved, and they actually will decorate their storefront, dress up, and give specials on Firefly Day. We promote it through social media and local news, and by now everybody already knows that Fannin County is Firefly Day on the 2nd of July. To kind of celebrate our efforts, we host a Firefly dinner at one of the local farms, New Tutla Farm. And we are judicious on who we invite. And we invite stakeholders like builders, lighting companies, and policymakers. Even our state representatives were invited. We give them an update on our project, and then, like magic, the Fireflies come out and put on quite the show. And this is a huge event for us because it gives us a chance to not only celebrate the work that we've done throughout the year, but we also get more people interested and involved. Especially, we had someone who owns a lighting company, and now he is talking about doing specials for homeowners who want to make their lights a little more dark sky friendly. Builders who now want to just incorporate those from the get-go when they build a new house. So that's pretty fun. We are also, we do this every year, and we have a local chef come. We just make it a really fun and big deal. So our biggest win for 2025 is the Fannin County Ordinance 2025-03, which is the ordinance, Environmental and Habitat Protection Ordinance. So what happened is one of our local commissioners was at one of our Firefly dinners and approached us about crafting this ordinance with them. And the ordinance basically talks about how you have to turn the lights off now in Fannin County from midnight on until sunrise. And we know that we prefer them not have the lights on at all, but you know, we're trying to move the needle just a little bit at a time. Our project was also recently recognized at a national tourism conference. And some of our numbers, we have had over 1,000 participate in workshops, and we have educated over 500 students. And we're now working on a leaflet for the Fireflies in our local parks to keep going with our educational efforts to make some wild area and leave your leaves in your yard. And of course, we were truly honored to have Lynn Fowle's support on this project. She regularly checks in with us and gave us a wonderful little quote for our project, and her being right up the street in Knoxville, around the Knoxville area is very helpful for us. All right, so there you have it. That's what we're doing in Fannin County. Richard, is there time for any questions?
Wow. Yeah, I'm so inspired. We certainly have about 5 minutes for questions. Yeah, let's open up the Q&A.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Becky. That was so inspiring. The first question is a question if you would share a link to your Firefly garden design.
Yes, if you just go to just Google Lights Off Fireflies On project, there we have several plans and they're located on the website. Easy to download and print out.
Great, thank you. And then just a comment, I love when teachers swap out non-native plant animals for something local and tangible for the kids.
Yeah, that's
and
great.
Yeah. And then another request for resources, this time for the lesson plans. Are those also on the website?
Yes, everything's on the website and we keep
Okay.
adding to it. It's a pretty dynamic place.
Great. Another person asks, which milkweed species attracts your fireflies?
Well, if you read Lynn's paper, it's basically kind of, and the link to her paper is on the website. They're not really sure in our area how that works, but we really needed a plant that tied in. So, and I know when I'm looking to take pictures in the daytime, I always find them on milkweed. So we definitely feel that there's connection locally to that. And Asclepias exalta, swamp milkweed, I think is one that we've used a couple times, and that seems to be really great for our environment here. And it's something you can't buy at the local store. So that one over the tuberosa or the orange variety.
Great. There's another question. Was there community pushback about the lighting ordinance?
We thought there'd be more than there was, but since we are a town that people come up for the natural resources, so far it hasn't been too big of a problem. We do have a drive-in movie theater, and they were concerned that they would get in trouble if their movies went over past midnight. So there are some exceptions for that, but the general rule is that your lights go off at midnight. And so what I've done is I've printed up cards, and in my home area, when we have people coming up, I make sure they have a card reminding them that they're responsible for turning off the lights.
Great. All right, let's see. Questions are still rolling in. Someone says, how awesome. Do you believe you are pulling in educators? Subjectively, do you see a lot of enthusiasm?
Yes, definitely, because it's something that's, the kids are excited because they actually see fireflies. They don't ever see elephants unless they're, at the zoo. So, yeah, the teachers are real excited, and we've done a lot of workshops educating the educators. So I see a lot more positives than I thought. I thought we'd have more pushback all around.
It's very inspiring. Let's see. A question, should one meet with the local school board or just a teacher or principal to get a program started?
Think you could probably go just with the school. I just was lucky that Christy from the chamber knew the school board director, and he was working with all of the schools in our county for STEM certifications. So he was real excited to have some ready-made lessons and PowerPoints and something to really tie the locals into what's going on here.
Great. See, another comment and question. Thanks for all that you have done. It gives me some great ideas. Will you be able to sustain funding, including staff time for this program?
Well, most of the staff time comes from the Chamber of Commerce, and they are definitely willing to do that, as we've kind of tied it into people making more money. If you have a dark sky cabin, they charge more for it. If we advertise that you're going to come up here and you are going to see the starry nights, you're going to have better bird migration, you're going to have fireflies, they're more likely to come here than another county where it's subdivisions going in left and right. So there is that financial aspect, which we all know that do environmental work really does make a difference. So most of the funding does come from the chamber and taxes from visitors. So that's worked out so far.
Yeah, it seems like you all have done a great job, like considering and including all the various stakeholders and interests of the area, and like even the dinner you were talking about. So it's such a good idea to invite like builders and all these other contractors and folks.
Thank you. I think the key is that we're all coming at it at a different angle. That would never have occurred to me, but for somebody else like Christy, that was like a no-brainer. So, yeah.
It looks like we have another question that just came in. I want to build a turf interactive interpretive exhibit for school groups, incorporating lights that replicate fireflies. Any recommendations? Ooh.
I'm not sure about that. That's a big question.
That is a big question.
You're welcome to email me and maybe we could think about it.
Great. And then, yeah, there was another question about sharing curriculum. And yeah, it sounds like that's all available on the website, fireflieson.com. And yeah, people love the magnet idea. The origami firefly is amazing. Yeah, I think that's all the questions.
Great. Well, thank you guys for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Becky. Really, really inspiring and really showing the power of creative partnerships too. So thank you so much. I'm pleased to introduce our next speakers who are presenting from Florida. They are Ellie Shultz, who's an environmental educator, and Connor Wagner, who is Park Services Specialist at Blue Spring State Park. Ellie, I think I just asked you to unmute, so you should be able to.
Yes, I did.
Wonderful. And you should be able to advance the slides. There will be one spacer slide, and then your talk.
Okay, yeah, we're good. Thank you.
Awesome. Great. Take it away.
All right. Hello, everybody. It's been so great to see what other people are doing, and it's been great to learn, and I'm excited to share what we're doing. So I volunteer at Blue Springs State Park through the Friends of Blue Springs State Park, which is a nonprofit organization that provides things in the park like volunteering and fundraising. And I'm going to talk today about our largest annual fundraiser event of the year. And first, I'm going to give a little background on Blue Springs State Park. So we are proud to be one of the most visited state parks in Florida. And our main claim to fame, as hopefully you can see in the picture, is almost 1,000 manatees that migrate into the waters of our spring run every winter. But we also have 2,645 acres of natural land that contains about 24 unique natural communities. And that supports things like gopher tortoises, the endemic Florida scrub jay, and of course, the reason we're all here today, the fireflies. And so at Blue Springs State Park, we have a couple different species of firefly, but the main one that comes out in really large numbers is called Photurus congener, also known as the Florida single snappy. And they usually start to emerge in their adult phase in mid-March, and they stay active for about a month. So that's what we build our annual firefly events around. So I'm going to go into the logistics of the event, starting with the marketing, the event lead up, all of that stuff. And so a lot of our stuff is promoted through social media. That's such a visual format. So we really make use of our manatee firefly graphic, which you can see on many of our social media posts, as well as a lot of our merchandise. I am wearing our t-shirt today. So in addition to having a lot of those visuals and posting just about the event on social media, we also post the Kaufman Glow Scale each day. So this comes from one of our long-term volunteers who was really instrumental in starting the Firefly event many years ago. So we've named this scale after him. And basically the way it works is each night we give the Firefly activity a score, 0 through 5, depending how many fireflies we saw. And we post that the next morning to let people know kind of when we hit our peak. And of course, that firefly activity does happen at nighttime when the park is usually closed. So that involves a lot of extra logistics too. That's a little bit different from if guests just came on a normal daytime visit. So they do need to enter the park before the park officially closes at sunset. That's when our gates close. And they do still need to pay the normal park admission. At this time, that's $6 per vehicle. And that gets kept by the Florida State Park Service. In addition to that, they'll pay for an after hours permit. At this time, it's $14 per vehicle, and that gets kept by the Friends Group nonprofit as part of their fundraising. So this after hours pass we've made really easy for people to acquire. They can purchase it online in advance, or they can just show up and purchase it once they get to the park. But either way, that after hours permit will allow them to stay after the park closes. Usually the fireflies start to come out around 8 p.m. or so, and then they can stay at the park until about 9 p.m. or right at 9 p.m. really. So we also, since we're inviting so many people to come into the park at nighttime, we want to make sure that the rules are pretty clear to them too. So we make sure that we are sharing the rules ahead of time and then once they get to the park. And that includes things like staying on the boardwalk, not using artificial light, so no white flashlights. If they absolutely need light, we encourage red lights. They also should be applying bug spray in the parking lot if they need any. We try to encourage people not to use insect repellent at all, but if they need to do it, they need to do it before they enter the firefly habitat. And of course, they shouldn't be touching or collecting any fireflies while they're enjoying the event. So there's a lot of behind the scenes logistics as well that occur before guests get to the park. And this involves things like coordinating volunteers. Staff and volunteers are really instrumental in making this event happen. It takes a lot of people power to occur. And that also includes things like installing red lights, as you can see in the picture on this slide. On the boardwalk where the visitors are going to be walking, we have glow-in-the-dark strips. We're looking at maybe using a different system next year, but either way, all of those little things to make sure that we are lighting things safely for people, but not too bright for the fireflies. And directing traffic and parking, especially on really busy nights, as we've had quite a few of those this year, has been really important, and that takes a lot of logistical planning for that. And of course, lots of recreational and educational offerings are part of this event. So now what I'm going to do is give you a little virtual tour of the park on a Firefly night. I want you to all imagine that you are attending a Firefly night. You have paid and parked at the event. And I am here with Ranger Connor, who is going to be giving you a virtual tour.
Hi, everyone. I am Park Ranger Connor Wagner. I am the volunteer coordinator and education specialist for Blue Springs State Park. So one of the things that our friends group does that's really, really amazing is a lot of the merchandise and things like that we offer at our park. We have all sorts of souvenirs, but some of the most iconic ones are like our t-shirts, which have our Friends logo on it, but kind of modified with the Firefly. We have a lot of really fantastic artists in our organization. Like one of the things that they make are hand-sewn manatees, and they'll put firefly wings on them or give them a glow-in-the-dark tail. Or they've recently started making these smaller little crochet manatees with the firefly wings and having the glow-in-the-dark crochet material for the tail as well. All of this is in front of our historic Thursby house, which was built back in 1872. And it's really kind of become like the symbol for our after hours events because we have the house light up like a dim red light as soon as the sun goes down, and we have all the souvenirs and everything. And then the fireflies will literally start glowing behind the house and then down about the half-mile boardwalk that we have. Something else that we're doing this year, to kind of like address the issues that we may have when we have like kids trying to capture fireflies is that like as we've created these small little kind of like 3D printed fireflies that glow in the dark, and we have them like in a little jar, and that's kind of like this is the firefly that you can take home, as opposed to trying to capture a live firefly and take it home with you. We also do have like food vendors and stuff that'll come out. We do a lot of like coffee and small things. A lot of people might be coming after work on a weekday as opposed to like a weekend and things like that. We have several visual aids. We've created Firefly life cycle charts to kind of talk about the different stages of the fireflies. We actually do like guided hikes every month, like full moon hikes and things like that. So sometimes we're very lucky in that we can actually kind of watch this firefly cycle outside of just that peak season that we're doing the event. But like we can see the larvae crawling around in the leaves and things like that during the summer or fall and things like that when we're doing our full moon hikes. We have also kind of gotten into 3D printing, and we have created a 3D printed larva that you can hold that we hold, and you use it as displays to give people kind of a larger visual aid as to what these insects actually look like close up. And again, that doesn't require us to have to capture them and show them in any way like that. We also have an adult with its wings closed, and we have an adult with his wings open. And with all of those visual aids, like one of the things that you'll most likely do when you show up is you'll come into the park, grab a coffee or a drink, walk around, watch the sunset. If there's any manatees in the spring, you'll check those out while you're waiting. We also do at least 2 fireside firefly chats every single night. They're about 15 minutes long, and we do them within like an hour of the park getting dark and the fireflies appearing. They're definitely one of the most popular things. You know, on a busy nights, we can have anywhere from 100 to 200 people kind of sitting on benches or in the lawn in this area. And if you attend the second talk, which kind of wraps up just as the fireflies are starting, then in all those woods behind, like as we're wrapping up our talk, the fireflies are already appearing behind everybody, which is just a really fantastic follow-up to the things that we're talking about. And in that 15-minute presentation, it's a really just concise or what are the fireflies? Why do we have them here? What can you do to help fireflies, and what you can do to protect the fireflies in our park that you're about to see. Some other programs we have in the park, like little additional things, we also have this all-terrain track chair program. We do it throughout the year for people to come out like in the daytime and explore some of our trails that they might not normally be able to access. But we also do it during firefly season, to where, you know, people that might not be able to walk the boardwalk or go out into the woods still have an ability to go out with their families and see these fireflies. And that woman there is actually my grandmother, who was able to, you know, see the fireflies, you know, before she passed away. So it was really special. And she talks about Ellie all the time. So we also do tram rides. They're a little more, you know, they're a little more private. So you're not kind of like following the crowds of people. So like for an additional side reservation for an extra fee, we could take up to 15 people on this tram, and we'll take them out to a deeper area of our hammock habitat where the fireflies are just a lot thicker. And also there's just a small group of us out there. So it's way easy. So like you kind of really get the experience more to yourself. What we do for that tram ride is we put red filament over our headlights, so that if we do have to drive when it gets dark, that it's a red light in those areas where we're with the fireflies. But generally we drive out to the area just before the sun sets. We get turned around, and then we sit there, and then the fireflies start up, and then kind of once we've all got our fill, we'll just creep slowly out with those red lights as low as we can, because there's not like other vehicles or anything on the road or anything. And then, of course, we just have our self-guided Firefly walk program. Our boardwalk is about a half-mile long. People can go up and down that boardwalk and look at the fireflies on their own to their heart's content during that time. And then we also have a lot of volunteers, which kind of serve as our Firefly rovers, educating people about the fireflies as they walk by, and then also just making sure that people are using lights or trying to catch them, just politely reminding them not to do that, and then explaining from the interpretive mindset as to why we don't want to, you know, impact our fireflies.
All right, thank you, Ranger Connor. So now that your tour is over, I'm just going to conclude with one final thing, and that's the lasting impact of our event. So obviously a lot of our visitors have very good things to say about this event, especially the people who have never seen fireflies before. We have so many people that didn't even know that there were fireflies in Florida. And so it's really cool for them to see it, or people to see fireflies for the first time since their childhood. And of those people, a lot of the visitors do take what we say about conservation to heart. So we're really hoping that they're taking that message of conservation of fireflies and their habitats home, and doing things to help the fireflies. And finally, just really quickly, I know we're running low on time, but the effect of this event on our park and on the Friends group is really big. So just to share some final numbers, in 2022, we made almost $10,000 from this event. In 2023, we made $25,000 or more than $25,000 from this event. Last year, we started to keep track of our visitors. So we had 4,700 visitors, and we raised $36,000. And then this year blew all of those numbers away. We were able to have 10,000 visitors, and we raised $90,000. So this has been an incredible fundraising event that has let us meet our visitorship goals. It's let us meet our fundraising goals, and those funds get to stay here in the park, where they can be used on education, on conservation of manatees, and things like that. So in conclusion, we are pretty proud to have a mutualistic relationship with our fireflies, and we hope that we are helping inspire people to protect the fireflies. Hopefully we've inspired some of you today, and hopefully we get to see some of you at Blue Springs State Park in the future. Thank you so much to everybody who tuned in for this.
Thank you, Ellie and Connor. We have 5 minutes for questions, so folks, don't be shy. Put your questions in the Q&A. If you're a panelist, feel free to just come off mute to ask a question. That's fine too. Yeah, Candace, take it away.
Thanks, Richard. Thanks, Ellie and Connor. Yeah, panelists, if you put it in the comment for the panelists as well in the chat, I'm also reading those as I can. Okay, so we had a question. Someone said that Minnesota makes a specific number of use and return state park passes that are available through the local libraries. Have you all been able to make a sliding scale for the event fee or do something similar to that?
I'll let you take that one.
We don't have really too much at this time. There's not really too much we can do at a government level with our state to kind of affect the actual entry fee into the park. Like for us, it's $4 for an individual in their car, $6 per vehicle. If something was was going to happen, it would happen at the state level, and then they would essentially tell us how we like, oh, use these library passes are now good for entering the park and things like that. Otherwise, we just have our annual pass program too, where visitors can, buy an annual pass ahead of time, and that will get them into the park, but that doesn't include the after hours fee that we have for our park. That's kind of a new thing that we've done because we've been starting to do more evening events in our park, Halloween events, full moon hikes, or Firefly event, where we're kind of without the friends group, we would not be able to logistically keep our park open later. It affects a lot of things like our rangers of hours because they have to still come in to work the next day at the end of the day. So without the volunteers that we have to help us keep that park open, like we wouldn't be able to do it, which is why we ask for like a small fee or donation to our nonprofit.
Yeah, great, thank you. Let's see, another question. I know we have had issues getting follow through from some people. It seems like monetizing adds value in people's minds. What are your thoughts about this?
Yeah, I don't know necessarily about adding value. I think people are excited to see fireflies regardless, but like Ranger Connor was just saying, the monetizing is what really allows us to go through with this event. And then additionally raise more money that we can use throughout the year. So it would be really cool if everybody could see fireflies without having to pay. And there are places in the area where people can go do that, but I think that we provide the value that people are willing to pay for that after hours permit and help our cause here at the park.
And it's that $14 per car up to 8 people in it. So we find a lot of families or like local friends getting together into like the same vehicle. So it kind of creates that closer community experience too, especially on like weekdays, just after school. Families that are close to each other will all just get in one vehicle, pay the fee. I think $20 for 8 people can be can be pretty reasonable when you think of like when you break it down by like the individual person. But yeah, and once we tell people what it's for, it really is one of those events that we tend to not have really very much pushback. People seem happy to pay, and then they're also donating to get a T-shirt or like the glow in the dark fireflies and things like that as well. And we've been seeing those T-shirts just kind of around in the community, which has been really, really nice too, to just see those shirts around like throughout the year.
Yeah, your little like logo is amazing. I hadn't seen that before. I actually had a question about like the increase in visitation is incredible that you were sharing. And I'm curious because I know this is something that we've talked to a lot of other like Firefly viewing sites is like that balance of visitation and just like being able to like how do you manage visitors? Like have you figured out kind of a carrying capacity of the site or is it just kind of like still in trial and error mode?
We have like a general idea. Like I think our busiest night this year was somewhere close to 900 people
Oh wow.
in the park for the event. And one of our big advantages is that we recently if you haven't been here in a while, if you've been here before, we recently built a new boardwalk. So the old boardwalk was only maybe four or 5 feet wide. So it was very hard for people to even get by each other during the event. Now the boardwalk is like double, if not almost triple that width. So it does allow way more people to fit on it because really having a boardwalk is really what makes this event possible because it's elevated enough to where people couldn't really get off of it even if they wanted to. It's wide enough to where people can not be in each other's way. Even if it's dark out there, you don't really feel like you need a flashlight. And it just kind of keeps the fireflies separate enough from the people that only very rarely you have like those interactions where like one rogue firefly decides to go across the boardwalk and like people see it as it's going by. So we're very lucky, just kind of like the way that the park is laid out, that it works for us. And right now, really the only limitation is the parking lot itself. Do we have enough parking lot spaces in the car? But I mean in the park. But really, that's only been a problem on like that Saturday. Like weekdays, we're still like having plenty of room where we could fit double or triple people. But then other than that, it's just having volunteers in like those critical junctions where Firefly people interactions might be the most significant, to where they can just like educate people uh, to not to not mess with the Fireflies if they see them. So we're not there yet on the capacity, and we have plans in place that if a night starts to get a little busier than we expected, but also by going virtual with our tickets, we have a much better idea as to how busy the night's going to be based on
Right.
those ticket sales ahead of time, which has been very helpful instead of just kind of gambling every night on like how many people are going to show up.
Yeah, I'm
We
sure.
also found that a lot of people just buy the tickets and just don't show up. And like if they ever ask for a refund, we would give them a refund back. But then a lot of people just say like they just kind of just make it as a donation to the park. So a lot of it is just people just they're like, oh well, it's for a good cause. I'm just gonna pay for it. And if we can't go, it's not a big deal. So that's a weird extra little benefit that we got from it that we didn't expect.
Yeah, great. Thank you. I think yeah, that might be time. There's another question, but it's manatee focused. I don't know if you want to tackle it in the Q&A while we move
Yeah.
on to our next speaker.
I'll just say really quick, two things I didn't bring up is two things that we're going to try and do this season. We're going to try and do Firefly yoga because we're partnered with a yoga studio. So we're going to try and have them where they like set up in a kind of a secluded area just before it gets dark, and then they can kind of wrap up their yoga as the fireflies are appearing around them. We're pretty excited to give that a shot. And then we're also working with our boat crew, with our concessionaire that does boat cruises. And we want to see if we want to try to do like evening boat cruises, like we're curious as to how many fireflies will they see along the shoreline of the St. Johns River, like if they go out there, pull up close, and then get to see them. So we're exploring that opportunity as well. So
Nice. Thank you
Thank
both.
you so much, everybody.
Thank you. Exciting stuff. And good lessons to share with others as well. So thank you so much. Next we have another break, about 7-minute break. Okay, welcome back, everyone. We are at 10 till the hour. It is we're in our last session of two talks for the rest of the day. And our next presenters are joining us from the Santa Cruz River Corridor of Arizona, Mike Medrano and Tony Palmer. We can see you. You should be able to advance slides. Take it away. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Tony. That's Mike, and we're going to talk about Glow with the Flow, managing public firefly viewing in southern Arizona. So, like many of you have said, most people did not realize there were fireflies in our area, like in southern Arizona. And so this map on the screen is generated from the Firefly Atlas, courtesy of the Xerces Society. So you can see that fireflies are actually, if you get into the right spot, quite prevalent in especially southeastern Arizona. And we're focused kind of just south of Tucson there, in the real hot spot on the map. And the species that, a lot of you have several species that you're working with. The one that we have along the Santa Cruz River is Photinus newli, or the Southwest synchronous firefly. It's a very small species of firefly, kind of found in this southern Arizona region. and you can see the Firefly Atlas data on localities where they're found there in the map behind. We're kind of focused from Green Valley to Nogales is the area where we kind of concentrate our viewing efforts. So the history of public firefly viewing on the Santa Cruz River corridor. Firefly viewing is not a new thing in Southern Arizona. There have been, like individuals like Joe Cicero who have been leading small firefly tours in Southern Arizona for many years, but it's kind of becoming more known that fireflies are here, and more people want to go out and see them. So we've been doing for 3 years viewings here in the Santa Cruz River corridor, and we've been Tumacacri National Historical Park has been nice enough to host us for those 3 years. So in 2003, just a little history of the program. This was our first year, and we learned that timing is everything. We were kind of coming into this without a lot of knowledge of the local firefly, and we basically started too early. Every group got to see fireflies, but most nights there were more people than fireflies in the field. Everybody was super thrilled to see them because a lot of people hadn't seen them since their youth, or most people didn't even know they were in Arizona, so they'd never seen fireflies. So it was still a very, very special event for all those people, but we didn't quite get the timing right, so it wasn't as good as it could have been. So in 2024, we kind of shifted and we started doing firefly surveys leading up, and then about 2 weeks before we predicted when peak was going to be, we announced the event and we got people signed up. We've limited the event to around 50 people a night. And in 2023, we had 4 nights, and we had about 250 people attend in the first year. And then in the second year, with giving the people 2 weeks notice and predicting the peak, it was what we call the operation success. Everything was perfect. We had an amazing monsoon season, almost a record monsoon season, and the fireflies were out in droves, and we timed it perfectly, and we did 5 nights in a row, and we had over 300 people attend this year. And we learned that maybe 5 nights in a row was a little hard because we don't have a big volunteer base yet. And basically it's Mike and I are there every single night. And then we have a couple volunteers from some of our partner organizations that come and help us out. And with 50 people a night, and basically 2 to 5 people running the program, it's a little hard to do 5 really late nights in a row, because we start at about 7:30 and we go until 10. And by the time everybody's out there, it's 11:30, and drive time and stuff. We're getting to bed midnight, 1 o'clock, and got to do it 5 days in a row. It's a little tough on us. So we learned from that, and then in 2025, we learned, we had a really good showing. We had over 400 people this year for our firefly viewings. But we learned about the unpredictable impacts of the environment because we did not have a monsoon season until very late this year. And one of the factors that brings out the fireflies is the monsoonal rains. And because we didn't have monsoons, the previous 2 years, we focused on the heritage fruit orchard at Tumacacri, where to do the viewings, and we had a lot of fireflies in the orchard, and we could just set people, and it was a very close walk to the parking lot. But in 2025, there were no fireflies in the orchard. So we had to kind of shift, and in 2024 we started doing small interpretive hikes out to a spot on the Santa Cruz River where there's a nice open field and there's a large congregation of the Photinus nulli. And so in 2025 we had to shift, and everybody had to make the walk down to the river, which a lot of people dropped out of the viewing, the visitors that would have come, because of accessibility issues. But we learned that we have no control over the weather, and we're just something we're going to take into account for the 2026 Firefly viewing season. But I'm gonna pass it off to Mike, and he's going to talk about the future of the program. And we also, we see a lot of wildlife when we're out there. So here's a wildlife camera footage of a hog-nosed skunk crossing a log, and it crosses the log. I don't know why the video does not work. As it crosses the log, you'll see a light come on, and then out of the top corner, you'll start seeing a Photinus nulli come in to answer the light on the wildlife camera. Kind of a cool video that we got, one of our partners got with some of their wildlife camera research that they're doing on the Santa Cruz River. So, all right, take it away, Mike.
So some of the challenges that we've run into, Tony talked about the monsoons or the lack thereof. We don't have control over that, and trying to predict for that is a challenge for scheduling these events. So we do the best we can. We use as many climate models as we can find, and try to time that out so we don't have events like we did the first year where we had more people than fireflies. The Santa Cruz River drains a substantial area, and the river itself can be unpredictable. And let me see if I can get to Richard. Can you start the video?
Yeah, no problem.
So this is a series of still photos that we combined into a short video. But the river rises about 2.5 or 3 feet over the course of 30 minutes. We have been out in the field doing surveys with video where we were sitting there, and all of a sudden, we're ankle deep in flood water. So the river is very unpredictable, which causes issues not only for personnel safety, but also for visitor safety when we're out. The burden has been falling to a small number of people. There's been Tony, myself, and one volunteer that have been pretty consistent. Some of these evenings we have way more visitors than we do staffing or people to help manage them. Other nights we get more staffing or high numbers of staffing to visitors. And then, Tony talked about these being late nights. We have other commitments that we have to balance while trying to provide the public firefly viewing. And that becomes a challenge and a safety issue. We've been struggling with adjusting for maximum capacity. We have been capping the events at about 50 participants to try to keep the events manageable and also not have an impact on the habitat. So for resource conservation purposes, in the lower right, we are able to actually show people individual fireflies so that they get that unique experience. If we do not cap that at the small number that we have, those interactions are not possible. This year in particular, we've had issues with wildlife at night. There are mountain lions and bobcats and skunks and javelina and deer that frequent the Santa Cruz River corridor. One of the nights that we were taking visitors out, we had a couple of skunks that were squabbling. And in Arizona, there's a huge problem with skunks and rabies. And so, having visitors, it's a unique experience for visitors to see that after seeing fireflies. But at the same time, that presents a visitor safety issue. So what we've really learned is we have to go with the flow. When it comes to weather and visitors and how many folks we have to manage these events, we just have to be flexible and adaptable. Doing these events during monsoon season, we also get storms that pop up, and it just prevents us, due to thunder and lightning, from getting out in the field at all. So, we just have to go with the flow and be flexible and adaptable. We are definitely working on expanding our partnerships, such as Xerces Society, International Dark Skies, local tourism groups, Tumacacori National Historical Park, Western National Parks. This year, for the first time, we had a teacher on one of the tours, and they were interested in expanding into local schools. And so that's something that we are going to look at. So looking to the future, we want to continue to tweak our program to ensure resource preservation and improve visitor experience. That, I think, is the most important thing, is to make sure that visitors are having a good experience. We want to continue to research and document population trends. That video where the skunk triggered the camera and the firefly popped up. We'd like to investigate more ways to do remote sensing and remote documentation. We'd like to expand research into other areas such as predation. We don't know what things are eating the fireflies in the Santa Cruz River corridor. So, maybe doing some guano research with bats. That's something that we are investigating and trying to expand. And then continuing to extend partnerships and public engagement, things like, maybe junior ranger programs or something like that. Special thanks to our partners. Daniel Judkins is another one of our volunteers that has been consistent throughout the 3 years that we've been doing programs. So special thanks to him, along with all of the agencies that you see on the screen. So thank you very much, and we'll take any questions.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Tony. It's great to hear more about this project. Close to my heart. I've had the joy of visiting some of your sites. Let's see. So yeah, folks, if you have questions, feel free to type them in the Q&A. The first one, my org operates an international dark sky park in Maine. I'm wondering what role they play in your project.
So where we hold the Firefly viewing events is at Tumacacori National Historic Park, which is an international dark sky park. And fortunate enough to have the municipality of Tubac, Arizona, just north of there, which has been designated International Dark Sky City. And then that location is also about 20 miles away from the Whipple Observatory. So they help to keep the dark sky preserved. We can see some sky glow from the park, from Tucson and Nogales, Arizona, and Sierra Vista way off to the east. But we are a dark sky location, and we have had dark sky representatives come out to the viewing events to talk about the importance of dark skies, and we do have like pamphlets and things for people to take, and we always at our like little talk before we go out on our walks, we always mention the importance of dark skies to fireflies, and the Dark Sky International and ways that people can reduce their light pollution. So that's how we bring the dark skies into the program.
There's also great interest from the community of Tubac in doing astrotourism. So that's an aspect that we are also exploring.
Great, thank you. I had a question of my own. You had mentioned that you might move into some predation studies. Do you have any thoughts on what might be predating your fireflies, or is that just more of a future focal area?
So this year, our partners at Tumacacre National Historical Park have been, they've gone out a couple nights and collected bat guano samples during the firefly times. And we have to review them to see if we can find any evidence of firefly in the guano. We've only seen the orb weaver spiders predating fireflies in the Santa Cruz River corridor. But we've got like a video I took on one of the surveys where a male gets rejected by a female, and as he's walking away, all disheveled and upset, a wolf spider jumps and quickly walks away, like it goes to predate and then stops and then runs off because maybe there's some sort of chemical defense. So we've got some small preliminary samples, but yeah, we hope to expand to see just what could potentially be predating the Phytinus nulli in southern Arizona.
Interesting. Yeah, that would be really, really interesting. I'll look into the bat guano, especially. There's another comment here that about an article prompting them to wonder if firefly populations are influenced by the presence of bats. And do we know? So maybe TBD.
Yeah, definitely. We would be interested in reviewing that article if you could share it.
Yeah, I'll send you this link.
Awesome, thank you.
I have a quick question. We're basically at time, but in terms of your visitor base or the visitor base for the viewing events, what's the furthest that visitors are traveling from at this point?
We've had visitors from East Texas, the Seattle, Washington area, and New Jersey come to see our fireflies in southern Arizona because they couldn't get they quote couldn't get into the lottery for the Great Smoky Mountains or Congaree.
Commitment.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both so much. It's with sadness and some relief that I'm introducing the last presenter of the symposium, the last presenters. We are pleased to introduce Peggy and Ken Butler, who are co-founders of the Pennsylvania Firefly Festival. And Peggy, let me give you slide control now.
Okay, hi everyone.
Here we are.
First of all, I just have to say this has been so much fun, and getting to hear all these different presentations, it's been very inspiring. So we are very honored to participate in this virtual Firefly Symposium. For those of you who do not know, the PA Firefly Festival, or what we call PAF, is a nonprofit organization run by a very small group of volunteers in rural northwestern Pennsylvania, specifically here in the village of Kellettville in Forest County. I've listed on our slide here some of our partners and organizations with whom we've had very long associations and share common interest in firefly conservation. So we came to the world of fireflies, though, not as scientists or experts by any means, but through a happy coincidence. Ken will tell you more about that later, but the opportunity to provide the firefly tourism was essentially just dropped in our laps, and it has changed our lives very much so for the good. Our presentation today will be about the firefly tourism practices that we now use and have adopted at the festival. Much like the Hippocratic Oath, first do no harm. When it comes to firefly tourism, we say first leave no trace. To start with, I would like to make a land acknowledgement of our property and the Allegheny National Forest. It was originally inhabited by an indigenous people, specifically the Seneca people of the Haudenosaunee Nation. We imagine that they would have been the first people to have discovered the fireflies of our forest, and we give honor and thanks to them and the fireflies and the forest. So according to the Seneca language dictionary, fireflies are called Odish Danagua, or cold sparks. Sorry for the slaughtering of that. And the singular version would be Dewachistos Guas, scatters sparks.
Okay, slide number 3. Our story begins in 2012 when a group of scientists and researchers led by Lynn Faust came to Forest County to study the fireflies and confirm reports of synchronous fireflies. Lynn's FIRE team, which stands for Firefly International Research and Education Team, included researchers Zach Marion, Sarah Lauer, Raphael DeCock, and Katrine Stenger Hall. We were operating a B&B at the time, and the FIRE team needed a place to stay. We had no idea there was anything special about the fireflies. To us, one lightning bug was the same as the other. The FIRE team stayed with us for 10 nights and identified over 18 species of nocturnal and diurnal fireflies, including Photinus carolinus, also known as the synchronous fireflies.
We were stunned to learn about their findings, but also became quickly intrigued and excited. At that time, Lynn gave us a choice, though. She said we could ignore the findings, go about our lives, happily fly fishing, and the FIRE team would keep the specific sites a secret, or we could embrace the opportunity and find a way to celebrate this gift of summer. However, she did warn us that if we chose to celebrate and have a festival, we needed to educate ourselves and be prepared for an onslaught of people from all over the world.
Well, obviously, we chose to have the first and only festival in the Commonwealth, celebrating the official state insect of Pennsylvania in 2013. We timed the annual festival to be during the synchronous firefly season. We thought it would be just a few people at first, enjoying some music, and then go out to watch fireflies. We never expected what would eventually happen by 2016.
By 2016, the word was out that Kellyville, Pennsylvania had synchronous fireflies, and we had 1,000 visitors come to the festival to witness fireflies in our backyard. Of course, we were overwhelmed, to say the least, by the crush of people and their flashlights and their cars and headlights as they left that night. And this photo shows the blue filtered flashlights that we were using at the time on the walks to see the fireflies. We had multiple groups with as many as 70 people in a group, trampling on the pathways and possibly stepping on female fireflies, larvae, and pupae on those pathways. We had no idea how much damage we were doing, but we had to find a way to control the crowds, reduce the lighting, and manage the festival, or else we were going to lose the very thing we wanted people to love and protect.
I want to add that part of the reason that we had the explosion of people was that David Attenborough visited our location in 2015. And in 2016, he released his movie, Attenborough's Light on Earth, about all things bioluminescent. So we were overwhelmed. And then we sought the expertise of Dr. Sarah Lewis, the author of Silent Sparks. Sarah came to Kellettville in 2017 as the keynote person to address the PA Firefly Festival. She spoke about the double-edged sword of ecotourism. She also gave us a lot of encouragement about how the changes we were making were the right ones.
And in 2019, Dr. Avalon Owens, now from Harvard, came to Kellettville with her Tufts intern at the time to do her field studies on the effects of artificial lights on fireflies in the wild, which she spoke about earlier this week. We learned from her research, which revealed some compelling and concerning discoveries about fireflies, how the effects of the competing artificial light may be affecting our fireflies. So the research and the advice of Lewis, Owens, and the fire team and others led us to make some very necessary changes to the management and structure of the festival.
Here's our attendance record from the beginning at the Kellettville Firefly Farm. Initially, things were going as expected. Even though it was a rainy day in 2015, we still had 300 people. Then in 2016, as we mentioned before, we had over 1,000 people show up. In 2017, we started implementing more restrictions. However, it still wasn't enough. We were noticing that the fireflies may be at risk. Was there something more we could be doing? Ironically, it was the pandemic in 2020 that gave us the biggest relief and a chance to reboot. We had just 30 people who paid a fee that year to come watch fireflies. We discovered we didn't need the 6 hours of bands, food trucks, and craft vendors. We were able to take back the control that would allow us to sustain the festival and protect the fireflies for many years to come.
We have learned that bigger isn't always better, at least when it comes to running a Firefly Festival with a group of volunteers. And to quote author Maya Angelou, when you know better, you do better. In 23, then, we implemented a simple lottery system for our paid registration. Now we ask people to complete a Google form application. We collect forms between January and March and then randomize the list to select the names for the registration. This year we had 1,800 applications for just the 120 spots we had available over the 3 nights. We expect that and more for the 2026 events again. We've discovered this is really the most fair and equitable way to manage the demand for our tours. And we still have educational exhibits prior to the walks from the associated organizations like Xerces, Audubon, Dark Skies, and the PA Department of Natural Resources. Then we have rangers from the Allegheny County Parks that provide an expert presentation on the fireflies while we wait for it to get dark enough to watch fireflies. The 15-acre Kellettville Firefly Farm now is being managed as a Firefly Sanctuary. We no longer are conducting the Firefly Festival here on our property. We conduct only private tours and keep it preserved and protected for researchers like Sarah Lauer and Avalon Owens, and more, I hope. The 2026 festival will now take place at the Tionesta Lake Park in cooperation with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. We like to promote our event as a unique, immersive educational experience while preserving and protecting the fireflies and their habitats. To help us continue that mission, PAF partnered with PA Wilds in 2023 and adopted the Leave No Trace Outdoor Ethical Practices. The PA Wilds region is in northern north central Pennsylvania is home to 2 million acres of public lands, including the Allegheny National Forest and our only dark sky park in Cherry Springs. It promotes outdoor recreation as well. The 7 leave no trace tenets are important practices and guidelines for anyone going out into nature, regardless of the activity or habitat. PAF has adopted and now applies these principles to the leave no trace leave no trace to our Firefly eco tours. You too could consider using leave no trace when leading your Firefly tours or walks. And for those of you who are not familiar with leave no trace, Ken and I are going to quickly introduce you to those 7 principles and some of the simple and fun ways to remember them. And that's as simple as counting to 7 on your hands. So I'll demonstrate those on the screen if you can see me. Okay, number 1. Oh, let's get the slide to move. So number 1, oh, my screen is backwards, so sorry. The number 1 rule and Scout motto, be prepared. We provide our guests with information and checklists prior to their visit. We encourage them to dress appropriately for the activity in the forest. They also need to know what to expect in terms of facilities and services before they arrive. We still have lots of people who come from the cities and never been to Forest County and get surprised by the lack of gas stations, cell coverage, and now the charging stations for their EVs. Here is a list of items that you might want to consider having in your backpack for going out into the forest. Printed maps, not just relying on our GPS because we don't have cell coverage. Water, certainly, maybe some food and snacks depending how long you're going to stay. A first aid kit, maybe a camp chair. We can't stress enough the red filtered flashlights at night. And last but not least, if you're going to walk in the woods at night, regardless of your age or ability, a walking stick or a trek pole is an absolute necessity.
Yeah, it's become mandatory for us. We absolutely require people, and we provide them. But we are not taking anyone out at night without a walking stick. Number 2, travel and camp on durable surfaces. In other words, camp at designated sites and stay on the path when hiking, even during the day. If you have to leave the path for any reason, be sure to choose your footing carefully. As you all know, fireflies spend 95% of their life on or in the ground as larvae. So we encourage guests to watch where you step, even when the season for adult fireflies is over.
Number 3 is trash your trash. So we pick up the trash or scoop it up and put it in our packs. Fireflies are known as the bioindicator species. In other words, if fireflies are present in a habitat, it indicates the habitat is free from pollutants, including air, water, soil, and light. So we need to keep it that way for the future generations. Therefore, be prepared to pack out what you pack in or just don't bring it. Another source of contamination may be the air, so we're asking guests to refrain from smoking or vaping, but also avoid applying the bug spray and wearing perfumes in the habitats. Whether it's litter or waste, be prepared to take it out when you leave. The fireflies are telling us the habitat is clean, so let's keep it that way.
Number 4, leave what you find. The old adage of leave only footprints and take only memories or photos refers to discouraging the removal of any flora and fauna from its habitat, as well as other artifacts such as rocks, fossils, or feathers. Unless it is litter, leave it. We use the term firefly hunter figuratively and discourage catching most fireflies on our walks. But if someone catches 1 or 2, we ask that they be released on the same night and in the same location.
With regards to photography, photos are great memories. However, taking photos of fireflies typically requires specialized equipment, extra equipment, and practice. So some of the new cell phone cameras can do long exposures, but the lighted screen will interfere with our night vision and disrupt others. So the light also attracts unwanted insects that bite. And we tried to dedicate a couple nights of photography nights for photographers as a separate activity. Warning, there are also things that you may inadvertently take away with you that you definitely don't want. So be sure to do a tick check after you leave these habitats. Number 5, be careful with your campfires and lights. If we have a campfire, it's usually a small communal fire during our introductions and education time before we go on Firefly walks. With regards to lights, we now use the red filtered flashlights when leading the walks. And we promote and support Lights Out for Lightning Bugs through the month of June and throughout the PA Wilds and the Commonwealth. The rest of the year, we try to adhere to the 5 principles of responsible outdoor lighting proposed by the Dark Sky organization. They state that the lighting should be controlled, useful, targeted, low level, and warm. So I came up with a little acronym myself, cut low. So when it comes to campfires or lighting, cut them low.
And next, keep wildlife wild, although not likely, but just in case you run into other wildlife while looking for fireflies, keep your distance. Use the rule of thumb method for large deer like elk, deer, bear. If you can hold your thumb up at arm's length, look at it with one eye, and cover the animal completely with your thumb, you are at a safe distance. Otherwise, back up. With regards to fireflies, we encourage firefly hunters to minimize their time spent in the habitat because the fireflies only have a limited time and opportunity to mate. Even one night can make a difference. We ask people to give them their space and time. We limit the number of nights for the festival, and the viewing is kept to a scheduled time frame. The private tours are also limited and staggered.
Last but not least, be mindful and considerate of the shared spaces. The golden rule of the outdoors. So we give a wave with one hand and the sign of peace with the other. PAF events have educated over 5,200 people about fireflies since 2013. We estimate that well over 1,000 people visit the PA Wilds annually just to look for fireflies, but thousands more come to the wilds for other tourism opportunities and are not there to see fireflies. They're usually not even aware of what they may be missing. So while we're on the trail, especially at night, we are sure to share the trail respectfully. We lower our flashlights, especially if we're wearing headlamps. We try to set an example, be friendly, offer help if needed, and if appropriate and given the chance, explain what we're doing in the space. But it might just be a learning opportunity. There is no test of the 7 leave no trace, but if you try, or if you need to remember any of the 7, just remember number 1, be prepared, and number 7, be considerate and mindful of the others in the space. If you follow at least those 2 things, you'll likely cover the other 5 using your common sense. You can always check with our website, pafireflyevents.org/LNT or pawilds/LNT for more information. And here's our contact information. Again, thank you, Richard, Candace, Amber, and Xerces for hosting this event. Feel free to contact us if you need more information. This has been great.
Thank you so much, Ken and Peggy. I love the idea of the required walking stick too. It had not occurred to me, and I love that for safety and also just accessibility, normalizing that for accessibility. So I know I'm storing that one away. We have a few minutes before we for Q&A before we head over to the before those of us who want to head over to the Zoom meeting social hour do so. So yeah, maybe 5 minutes of questions.
Yeah, feel free to put them in the Q&A, or if you're a panelist, you can put it in the chat. Someone's admiring your logo, which I agree with. It's so beautiful.
We have some very good artists in our area who contribute many times. And yeah, a shameless plug for our t-shirt. I'm wearing our t-shirt.
Nice.
Yeah.
And it glows in the dark, of
Glows in the-
course.
Has the fireflies life cycle on it and habitat requirements and so on. So
There's some good Firefly swag I'm
I know,
learning.
they love, the artists are great. They're very inspiring.
Yeah.
We
Let's
still
see.
run the bed and breakfast. We operate it as a lodging, whole house lodging now. So no more bed and breakfast. You make both.
It really came out of the COVID
The
experience.
COVID, yeah.
We just found too many people really reluctant, and so it better just to have the whole house set up. The house is split in half now, so there's our side, and then there's the for rent side with 5 bedrooms. So that works out great for people.
And we have a kitchen that we call the lab kitchen for our scientists can use it as a lab or yeah, and to cook their own meals.
I think Richard and I need to make a trip out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
We would welcome all of you.
You have another question here. You have a flightless female on your logo. What species is that?
I don't think we have a flightless. It's a larva, a pupa, and I guess it's a photinus of some sort. Joe, I think it's supposed to be a larva and the pupa. Yeah.
Thanks.
We don't have, as far as I am aware, we do not have any flightless females in Pennsylvania or in our area. There may be some in other locations in Pennsylvania, but not in Allegheny National Forest. Lynn did not describe any of those. Okay, roger that.
Roger that.
I would love to find some.
Pam says, great presentation. It's easy to say bigger is better and success means more people, but this is a good lesson that that's not always the case.
Yeah, it was stressing our organization. Again, it's a matter of people and giving them an experience that they can really learn from and not trying to get crush of people in there. So, and our own people, it's a matter of our own stressing our own people.
Yeah, I think it's been valuable to kind of watch. I mean, I feel like you too with the festival have really been kind of some of the first folks to put together these viewing events in the US, and really I feel like it's been helpful to learn.
Yeah.
Well, we made some mistakes and we're happy to share them because I think that's how everybody learns.
Yeah.
I can't, and I know I'm harping on this, but in a former life, I was a risk manager. And so if you have someone fall on your property, the first thing that the attorneys are going to ask is, were there any attempts to provide accommodations to somebody who fell in advance of the fall? And if your answer is no, then you are probably going to get hit with a pretty good sized lawsuit. So the walking sticks were a direct requirement of our insurance company.
Interesting. Yeah, that makes sense.
Another reason that we've moved it off the property and onto a more public area. So
yeah.
Right.
Well, thanks you too. I'm not seeing any other questions.
Well, it's been great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Thank you so much.
We're gonna move to the social area.
Yeah, I'll just end with a couple words. I want to thank all of our panelists today, but also the previous 2 days. It's really been a gift that they have shared their stories and knowledge and lessons with you all and with us. So thank you so much to our symposium presenters. A big thanks to Amber for all the logistical support throughout this whole symposium and making the webinar run as smoothly as possible. And lastly, I just want to acknowledge that for every presenter this week, I think there are many that didn't have the opportunity to share their stories and share their discoveries and their experiences. So I know many of you are, were among the attendees today, and I hope that this event can bring us together and communicate and collaborate more. So thank you all so much for your participation, and we have about 20 minutes in the Zoom meeting for those who want to head over and do some introductions and put in a little FaceTime. So thank you all. The recordings of presentations will take a little while to edit and put together, but they should be up on the Xerces Society YouTube channel in the next few weeks or so. So thank you so much and have a great rest of your week.